Hey y'all. Hey, what's up? What's up? What's up? What's up? What's up? Happy Wednesday, y'all. Happy Wednesday. Welcome to Mission for Mental Health. I am your host, Jackie Robinson. I'm so excited to be here. I'm still working on this green screen thing. It's looking better than it did last week, but I think when it gets dark, it's gonna look even better. Look, I'm coming along, y'all. I'm starting to cook with fish grease on this thing. Man, I'm starting to love this podcast thing. I'm trying to get a little, I think I'm getting a little good at it because people say they watching me. So I'm really excited about that. Thank you for coming on tonight. I'm so glad that you guys are here. I'm excited about our special guest that we have this evening. Her name's Ewanna. I know you guys are going to love her. You're going to love her story. She has a story. Just when you think you have a story, just when I thought I had a story, just when I thought I'm serious, just like when I thought I had a story, somebody came right up behind me with a story. I mean, this woman here has been through so much, man. I follow her on Facebook, and I read her post and just see the things that she's going through and how she's overcoming. I ain't gonna share her whole bio. I'm gonna let her do it. But y'all, you guys are gonna love her. I love her. I've been knowing her since I was like 14, 15 years old. I think I might be a year older than her. Um, man, your heart, y'all. All I can say, y'all. One, you might need to grab some tissue. That one, you might need to grab some tissue. Two, be receptive and be encouraging. Encourage her through this thing. She's been wanting to share her story for a long time, and I'm blessed and I'm honored and I'm glad that she chose me. I mean, she called me the night that I was boohoo crying snot nose on Facebook Live. She's like one of the first people that reached out to me and called me, y'all. So I had to get a new hairstyle for y'all just to change it up, y'all. I don't want got this thing pressed, boo. I don't want got this thing right. Oh, wait a minute. You see my gray hair. Look, if I hold my head down too much, y'all tell me lift my head up because I only sprayed this part right here. I ain't sprayed all back here because my stylist be getting mad. Anyway, no further ado. No further ado. I'm gonna bring on my girl Ewanna. Y'all give her some hand claps in the chat. Let her know that you love her and you support her and you're thinking about her and all that good stuff. And so here we go. Let me add her on. And bam, there she is. Ewanna, how are you, babe?
I am good. I am good.
Good, good. Welcome, welcome. I'm so glad that you're here. I'm so honored that when I did my Facebook Live and I was on there snot nose crying and carrying on, you were one of the first people to reach out to me. Several people reached out to me, but you were one of the first to reach out to me and just share your story with me. And I promise you, even though in the midst of me crying and hurt and in pain, you said some encouraging words to me. And those words were, Jackie, ever since this happened with, I'm going to let you tell it, we've been going to sleep at night. And that night, I actually did sleep that night. So it was a lot, and I know you understand. And like I said in the intro, sometimes we feel nothing worse can happen to us right now. Like this is the worst moment, especially when something happens to our children. That nothing worse can happen. Like I'm in the most pain, like no one's pain is bigger than mine right now. And then somebody calls you and shares their story with you, and you like, damn, I got the nerve. I got the nerve. How dare I? How dare I cry the way I am when I know there's another mother that I've been knowing my entire life just about that that's tragedy is triples mine. Triples mine. So go ahead and introduce
Oh yeah.
yourself to us. Tell us a little bit about what you do. Tell us a little bit about your husband and your family.
I am. I've been knowing you since 14 or 15 years old.
Yep.
Um, I am from San Jose, California. I
West
now
side.
reside. I now reside in Atlanta, Georgia. I'm married. Been married going on 26 years to my husband. Have 6 children, um, 3 grandchildren, um, and I'm a Medicaid caseworker.
Yeah.
I used to do paralegal work, but
Yeah.
now I actually got out of that field, and I am now a Medicaid caseworker for the state of Georgia.
Medicaid case.
Um, so that's about it about myself.
Good, 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 good.
I
So,
stay to myself.
huh? Are you not used
I
to
said I
tooting
stay
your
to
horn?
myself.
You're not used to tooting your own horn. Yeah, I do
No.
know. Now, one thing I do know about you, you do stay to yourself a whole lot. Um, um, but you do post a lot, and so I do see your posts, and my heart aches. My heart aches. I remember one time you called me, and was talking to me about your son, and I was just like, oh, I hate that for him. And in the back of my head, I'm saying, oh, I never would. I wish I never would have to go through that. And I'll be doggone if I ain't going through it just like you. I didn't expect it. So you said you got 6 kids. What are their ages?
Mhm. 20. Well, 27, 26, 25, 23. My son Amir would have been 33, and 23 and 18.
I know, right? You got to think about it when you got that many of them.
Yeah, well, really have to stop and be like, wait a minute, let me put them in order.
In order, right? Right. So tell us a little bit about
Yes,
Amir. Tell us about Amir.
about Amir.
Yeah. Tell us about Amir.
Um,
Because
Amir was.
You said Amir would have been 33 years old. So we know
Mhm.
when we say would have, we know that he's passed. But tell
Yeah.
us and tell people
Um,
that are watching things about Amir that we don't know. Because I didn't get a chance to see Amir past him being a baby. So tell us about things about Amir.
Amir was Amir. When I talk about Amir, Amir was like the man that he was becoming was the best man. Like Amir would give you the shirt off his back, and he was one of those individuals that believed in helping others. Like me, it didn't matter. If the person didn't have something, Amir would always make sure that they did. He looked out for family. Family was the most important thing to Amir. Amir could also be a handful.
Yeah.
So I do know there's no, it was no walk in the park with Amir. My cousin Taylor would tell you that.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, he was no walk in the park. And so, but he he was really kind, and everybody that came in contact with him always would say, "Dang, Ewanna, like AJ is just man, he has grown up to be more than I thought he would, would be."
Right.
And and it was always good to hear people say how respectful he was to
Right.
the adults. I never heard anybody say that my son was disrespectful. As a matter of fact, none of my kids. I've never heard that.
Right. Who's
So,
after Amir?
but Amir was it's Amir, then it's Arquan, then it's La Kiera, then it's Leilani, and then it's Matthew, and then it's Makai.
Okay. Okay. All right. And so I think I've only met the younger ones. Um I haven't seen Amir since he was a baby, of course, because we were leaving San
Yeah.
Jose, blah blah blah, lose contact with everybody. Um and so baby number 2, how's baby number 2? Describe baby number 2.
That is that's Arquan. Yeah, that's the ladies' man.
Oh,
What he says,
yes.
like, yeah, yeah. Uh, got a lot of his brother's ways, you know. Um, He's also in San Jose still.
Okay.
He's went back to San Jose. He was here in Atlanta with us for a while, but then
Right.
he ended up going back to San Jose,
Right.
which is where he's at now.
Okay.
Um, then there is number three, my
Yeah.
daughter, my
Yes.
26-year-old. Now the
Yes.
girls, oh my God, the girls are extraordinary. I love the
Yes.
girls. The girls are just
Yes.
the best. They bring out the best. Leilani and Lakiera, that's my 26-year-old and my 25-year-old. Good
Mm-hmm.
girls, good girls, the best. Leilani graduated from Georgia State. She's actually going back to Georgia State to go to law school
Law school. I
to
saw
become an
that.
attorney. Yes, so, and my daughter Lakia is back in college. Oh, God, that was a journey to get her to even go back. But she is going back, and the youngest is Makai. That's my little heartbreaker.
Mm-hmm.
So he says to himself, but he's like Amir used to be. He's really quiet and subtle.
Yeah.
Don't say too much. Don't socialize really with people. If you're talking about sports, he's going to talk to you
Right. Right.
because he plays football. If you're
Okay.
talking about football, basketball, or any of that, Makai's going to talk to you.
Yeah.
Or talking about video games, he's going to talk to you. I
Yeah.
think when Amir was murdered, that scared him, and so that made him be really secluded to himself.
Right.
Like he didn't, house parties, things like that. He didn't do those normal things.
Right. Which is
He began to
understandable.
do the normal things, and we and we were dealing with mental health issues with my son Matthew,
Right.
who was manic bipolar with compulsive behavior.
Right.
I don't know
So
if
hold on
anybody
before
knows how
we get to Matthew.
that
Before we get to Matthew, hold on. We're gonna get to Matthew because this is a mental health show. That's what we discuss and we talk about healing.
yes.
Um, but before we get to Matthew, we're gonna talk about how mental health entered your life. It's kind of a dual situation with you because you have the situation that happened with AJ, and then you're also dealing with Matthew at the same time. So let's talk about AJ first, and let's talk about how mental health came into your family through AJ.
The guy that murdered my son
Mm-hmm.
had mental health issues.
How did you find
Um,
out?
and in court, it came out. The family knew about it, but they did nothing to help him. He was the same age as AJ when he murdered AJ. They were both 26 years old. When he killed my son, when I was in court, I kept looking at him when they were, the different witnesses, the psychiatrists that they put on, and different witnesses, said that he was dealing with schizophrenia. And at one point, I was like, I don't care. He knew what he was doing. But
Right.
the more and more that they started explaining the things and we're talking schizophrenia mixed in with self-induced drugging yourself with
Correct.
methamphetamine. Now, that's a lethal combination.
Right.
Um, so my problem was the parents knew that he was suffering from mental illness, and nobody ever gave him any help. Nobody ever said, "Hey, something is wrong. Let me get him some help," because I felt like had they did that, then my son maybe would be alive. Then the man in Santa Ana would maybe be alive. The
Right.
lady on the freeway that he shot with her son wouldn't have had to endure that.
Mm.
So that's how mental illness entered my life, was through the young man that murdered my son.
Right. So when you said that his family knew about it, what came out to let you know that his family knew about it. I'm sure they didn't get on the stand and say, "Oh yeah, we knew that our son had schizophrenia. We just didn't want to do nothing about it." How do you know that they knew? How what came out to for that?
The, the psychiatrist that they brought, that San Joaquin brought on, was a psychiatrist that saw the young man when he was a juvenile, and had, I guess, been telling the family for years that they needed to get this boy out. Well, when you a lot of Asians are really private,
Right. Oh, he was
so they don't
Asian.
like dealing with stuff like that.
Right.
Yeah, he was Cambodian actually,
Okay.
and they didn't want to deal with that. But so since they didn't, they turned their head the other way. It got out of hand, and then you're there's two murders later. There's two other people later that he shot on the freeway. So because it wasn't addressed, this is where we're at today because he was self-medicating himself with
Right.
methamphetamine.
And I think when we talked before, you mentioned that he was committing robberies and things like that, and they knew he was doing these
Yes,
acts and didn't do anything
yes,
about it. Mm.
he was robbing people and was taking their IDs as as is to say, if you call the police and tell them on me, I have your ID and I know where you live at.
Right.
Like a person that just you ain't got it all, just gonna do something like that. Like a normal person, you're not gonna do because you're gonna think about that, the consequences.
Right.
So when you're dealing with a person with mental illness, they're not thinking about the consequences. They're
Right.
just going living in the moment.
Right.
They're living for that charge. Whatever it is, it's going to get them over that hill. And when you're talking about, I mean, listening to the psychiatrist describe the different things, I mean, I can tell you the things that the jail people or psychiatrists was saying that he was doing, like he was coming down off the drugs. He was talking to himself, but we all know that that's part of being schizophrenic. A lot of them hear the voices. He was hearing voices. He kept, when they asked him, like, why would you do this? He was saying that he was hearing the voices tell him to do this. But again, if you don't get the help, then it gets out of hand, and sometimes you're beyond reach
Right.
at that point.
Right. So was he has he already been convicted?
Yes,
Okay, good. Okay.
yes,
What type of sentence did they give him? And are they planning on giving him any kind of treatment or
life.
life?
They were going to give the boy the death penalty for the cases. I don't believe in the death penalty because we're not God. I don't believe, at some point a person deserves a chance, to get. And they had already said that they were going to make sure he got counseling. He got a lot. He has life, so he'll never see the streets. But
Right.
still, while he's there, they can at least address the schizophrenic part and help him and maybe get him medicated
Right.
instead of self-medicating.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I know that was a relief for you all to know that he because he was out killing people and shooting people and committing all these robberies, that he won't be out again. Hopefully while he's there, prayerfully while he's there, he can start getting some kind of help just to function day to day while he's in prison. um I see somebody jumped on. Look at that. Can you see who that is?
Oh my God.
All right, I see you, baby daddy number one. I see y'all now. Thank you for watching. That's Ewanna's brother, boy. Them two right there. Y'all two. Thick and Steve's.
That's
Y'all
my
two.
favorite cousin. I love him to death. We'll go to war behind him.
Man, thick as thieves right there. So yeah, so let's talk about Matthew. I remember the day you called me and told me that he had been arrested. And so tell me, let's talk about Matthew as a child. Let's talk about when you first noticed something was going on with Matthew and the things that you were trying to do to get Matthew help.
I started noticing when Matthew was little that he would just do little things, and I kept watching him. And went to a psychiatrist. Took him to a psychiatrist. He was about 5 or 6, like saying, "Hey, what is wrong with this kid? Like he's
What was
doing
he
stuff
doing?
that's not normal." But again, I was he killed a dog. First of all, so he said he didn't. Second thing he did was took a hamster and flushed it down the toilet and was in the bathroom laughing.
Right.
And I asked him, I opened up the bathroom door and I said, "Matthew, did you just flush that hamster down the toilet?" He said, "Nope," but the hamster went down the toilet, shot back up with the water like it was on a cartoon, and went back down. He did that. He would get in trouble at school. He kicked the teacher. He bit the teacher. Um, he couldn't sit in a setting like a normal child. He was unable to stay in school like a normal. Matthew was getting kicked out of elementary. He could not, and I knew something was wrong. But the doctor told me that they could not diagnose him with anything until he hit adolescence.
So how old was he at this time when he flushed the hamster, killed the dog, bit the teacher? Was he under the age of
With the hamster. With the hamster. He was 3 years old
mm,
when all that
mm,
happened. He was like 3 or 4.
right.
With the school, with the teacher, he was only in kindergarten when he kicked her. He was and he bit her, and they just didn't want to. He kept getting kicked out, and they didn't want to deal with him. So when he got to elementary, that's when it really started getting bad.
Jeez.
So he was my husband's mom. They were in Florida, and she was there, and he was staying with my husband in Florida. So he took my husband's keys and threw it in the lake. Had the
What?
police chase. Now, mind you, yeah, took my husband's keys and threw them in the lake. Had the police chase him through Home Depot, running. He was only 11 at that time.
Oh my God.
At that time, he was 11, fighting 4 cases.
11.
Fighting 4 cases. 11 years old, because he was really messed up,
Right.
And they kept saying adolescent, adolescent. I mean, they Baker Act him in Florida.
Yeah, I'm familiar with the Baker Act.
So they did that. I think that happened a couple of times in Florida.
Right.
So when they moved back to Atlanta, um, he was 15 or 16, and I was finally able to get the name, because I said, watching him, and I kept watching my child, and I knew something was off. I said, he's bipolar. They told me, no, you can't put a name to it until they hit adolescence. He's bipolar. I've read up enough on it to know that's what my child is. He
Right.
is bipolar. So when he turned 16, Dr. Wilson is the one at Serenity, is the one who said he's manic bipolar with compulsive behavior, borderline sociopath.
Mm. So between the ages of 3 and I think you said 15, when you finally got him diagnosed, what were they saying? Were they saying, oh, he's just bad? Or were they saying, let's give him some, he got ADHD, let's give him some medication? What were they wanting you to do?
They kept saying, well, let's put him on medicine. The medicine to calm him down. It's not calming him down. I mean, he went to the different institutions here in Georgia, the different Anchorage. You know what that is?
Anchor, yeah,
Over
Anchor,
there on
out there in College Park.
Anchor Hospital. He
Yes.
was there. I kid you not. He tried to break out of Anchorage.
Mm.
Then they sent him to McDonough. He came down to Decatur. Nobody could help my child. I'm like, well, what is the problem? You guys. Then they started wanting to give him all this medicine. He refused to take the medicine.
Right.
when he refused, you never know what you was going to get, wake up to, and what you was going to get with Matthew.
Jesus.
Because he could wake up, he can go to sleep, he would go to sleep fine. He would wake up a total different person, just eyes going, looking wild, and it's not him, just not
Right.
Matthew, somebody else. And you never know you never knew what you were going to get that day.
So I know I know that had to have an effect on like the entire family. So how was
Yes,
everyone able to cope with what he was doing?
we were all on pins and needles every day dealing with him, to the point where we put him out. You got to go. You got to go. I need some sleep. I need to be able to rest. Couldn't sleep with him because, again, you never knew what you were going to get with Matthew.
Right.
And that's when I knew that it was that serious. And if he did not take it, because when when they're bipolar and they go into manic, when they go into a manic episode,
Right.
oh, it can be days before you can calm them down,
Right.
unless they take that medicine. And so when he would go manic, I would have to call the people.
Right.
Oh, he would be ready to fight, talking about he was going to do this, that. And with him, it's just a bunch of talk. But it was just so bad that it broke my heart having to even have my son committed to the hospital. Mom, I'm going to do well when I come home. I ain't going to be doing none of that. And it would just be another revolving cycle. That door revolved, and it kept revolving, and it kept revolving, and it kept revolving. Nobody ever never got the help that we needed with him. All it was is, we can keep him for 72 hours. We can put a 72-hour hold on him, but that's all we can do, And once he's, if he's good, we'll release him and do what? Because it has to be something for long term, and he never got that help.
Right.
Georgia failed us. He went to juvenile hall. We had to call the police. I mean, he would just do things like pull out a gun. He just do crazy stuff. He had my son, my baby boy, so petrified of him that whenever Matthew came around, my son would go in another room because he would zone in on my baby boy and pick on him.
I wonder why.
It was always Makai he would zone in on. And when you do, like I said, when you're dealing with somebody that's manic, it can be days before they calm down. And during those days is when we would have to call. Where he went to McDonough, he was there for a couple of days, and then when the longest was when he went to Decatur, somewhere out here in Decatur, somewhere out there in Decatur. When he went to Decatur, then, but it was hell.
It was
It was
hell.
hell.
Mm-hmm. And so you said that they diagnosed him as a sociopath.
Mm-hmm.
What did he do? What signs? First off, let me let the listeners understand. Show them. I pulled up a little bit of information about sociopaths and their behavior. Y'all know I got to put them on because I can't see. Whoo! But the light is in them. Y'all work with me though. Work with me. Um, I did get a little bit of information about sociopaths. It says sociopaths are psychologically disturbed people with a severe form of antisocial personality disorder, sometimes called ASPD. It's estimated that about 30% of people with antisocial personality disorder are sociopaths. Um, these individuals tend to have a history of behavior problems, which is what you described, criminal involvement, which is what you described, aggression, which is what you described, abuse towards others, what you described, what he was doing to Makai, and difficult relationships. Some
Oh, he was good to all
sociopaths
of us.
have narcissistic traits. Um, Narcissistic sociopaths can be especially dangerous and manipulative. Many also have problems with drugs and alcohol. Did you notice at any time that Matthew was self medicating?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
It,
I
it,
noticed
I'm
that a
gonna
lot.
share this, and it's not funny. I think I told you how I knew that something wasn't in it. There was some bottles missing out that 6 pack. It was a couple of cans. It was one can left in that 6 pack. That's it. Was when he went to juvenile hall and he told the people, "My mama is a prostitute." What?
And what I guess his daddy's the pimp.
Girl, my husband was
I
so
know it's
mad.
not funny, but
He, he
sometimes
said,
the
"What
only
you
way
say
to get
about your
through
mom?"
some of this is to laugh. Sometimes the only way to get through some of this is to
Yes,
laugh. I know it's not funny, but it's hard. It's hard. It's hard. So, what ended up happening with Matthew?
Matthew ended up getting charged with murder. He made a decision to go somewhere. Him and his friend, his best friend, where they went, they ended up killing his best friend, and they charged Matthew with it.
Hmm.
Like I said, you and I would think through things like that. Normal people think through before. Oh, I don't think I need to go over there. I just need to, let everything die down. He doesn't think. When they're manic bipolar, that means with compulsive behavior, that means that they don't think things through.
Right.
In a normal brain cell, you would think things through. My baby didn't. My baby didn't. And when I tell you that it killed me,
Yeah.
and it killed me, I just had lost my son, and then I had to deal with that. So essentially, I lost two sons,
Yeah.
one to the system and one to the graveyard.
Yeah. All behind mental health. All
All
behind
behind
because
mental health.
people didn't know how to get help or didn't want to get help, and behind people wanting to
Mm-hmm.
get help and can't get help. So, and that's what
Yep.
I titled your podcast, A Mother's Pain, because like I said, sometimes we think when things happen with our kids, that is like our worst pain until you talk to another mother who's had to deal with pain with two children. So,
Mm-hmm.
how much time or did they say Matthew? Did they give Matthew? He's been sentenced,
They gave my son 30 years.
and I think it's important for people to hear this because I wanted people to understand some of the symptoms that Matthew had, some of the symptoms that AJ's killer had. Um, and when you recognize these things, um, even though we didn't receive help that we needed for our children, still fight for help for your child because you never know that
Yes.
one doctor may just say, "Hey, I know this ain't right. This child needs help." And that one doctor may do it. That one doctor may write that one pet subscription and that one pass to get this child the extended care that they need. So Matthew's been sentenced for 30 years. While he's in prison, is he receiving treatment or is he not receiving treatment?
He's not receiving treatment. He's not. But when I talk to him, you can tell that he's changing. You know, um, and you can tell he's changing. But then at the same token, Can't come to my house.
So yeah, so let's talk about that. At some point, Matthew's going to come home. Can he
Yes.
come to you? Can he come to you?
No. No.
So how has Matthew's diagnosis affected the family? How has it affected his dad, you, his siblings? How has that affected all of you?
It was to the point where I had already before AJ was murdered. I was already dealing with the mental illness with Matt going in and out of the institution, and I was just trying to come to grips with that, and it it sent me over the top as a parent. Like I don't like I felt like I just can't do it. I can't go to sleep in my house thinking that he's gonna come and do something stupid, and that's where we were all at. My husband was tired of tussling with him. Um, we were, as a family, as a whole, we were drained, literally drained. And when I hate to say what I'm about to say, but I'm gonna say it because it needs to be said. But when he went to jail, that's when I got my sleep.
Mm,
My worries were over for the meantime.
Jesus. It has to be I mean, I can relate. Um I know it sounds cruel, and I know it sounds hard, and I know some people are going to say, what you mean you could get some you could sleep now that your child is in jail. You want to explain that?
Didn't have to worry about whether he was out there in the streets, whether he was going to be killed because he didn't flipped out on somebody. Didn't have to worry about um, him waking up and he standing in the front yard shooting in the air. Didn't have to worry about him harming my child, my youngest. Didn't have to worry about him harming his other siblings. Um, I just didn't. We just didn't have to worry about that. We didn't have that to worry about because Matthew was doing stuff and bringing drama back to my house. Wouldn't tell us about it, and we were caught off guard on a lot of stuff. And when he went to jail, it was a sense of peace because to be like, I was at the point where, Lord, I don't want to have to kill my own child
Mm,
because you're not going to hurt me.
mm.
That's where I was at because I had told him, if you run up on me, it's going to be the last person you run up on.
Were you all
So
scared
the
of him?
fear, because mind you, Matthew, was I scared of him?
Yeah.
Oh no, I wasn't scared of him because I could match his craziness right along with him, and I used to tell him that. But my kids were petrified of him,
Yeah.
and if you would have saw how scared they were, you would understand. Like I had to protect them. Matthew, yes, he was my child too, and I loved him all the same, but he wasn't right in the head.
Right.
And I would always tell him, Matthew, take your medicine, Matthew. But he wouldn't take it because when they take the bipolar medicine, it's the psychotic medicine that they have to take too.
Yes. And they don't like to slow down.
Yeah, to balance them out. Yes, and he would tell me, I'm not taking that. It makes me sleepy. It makes me slow. Well, I
That's how
would
you're
rather
supposed to
you
be.
be. And I would tell him that I mean, it's working, but my husband, he was tired. He was tired,
Yeah.
and
He was
and we
tired.
couldn't. It's like the more we pushed to help him, the more he pushed against us.
Mm.
I mean, I can tell you an incident where I was driving in my car. Matthew got mad because I told him that his friends couldn't come back. He had to get out. I'm driving down South Fulton. Didn't even know he had followed me out of the subdivision. He hit my car and tried to push me into the intersection.
Mm.
So, yeah, when I tell you I was fit to be tired, I was fit to be tired.
Tired, tired. And I understand and I relate so much to what you just said. As far as I hate to see my daughter where she is. I hate it. It's the most painful. It's painful. It's hurtful because it would be different if I grew if I raised them to be in the streets. Then hey, that's a part of being in the
Yep.
streets. But when I didn't raise you to be in the streets and you in these streets, it's a hard thing to see your kid, especially coming from the background that I have and things like that. It's hard to see your kid like that. And so I relate with you when you say I can go to bed knowing that they're incarcerated because I know where you are. I know where you are. I know
Yeah.
you can't hurt anybody else. Nobody can hurt you. You know, it's funny because I used to, me and her dad said, we used to pray all the time that no hurt, harm, or danger will come to our daughter while she's out here going through what she's going through. But we never prayed
Yep.
to
That was my
stop
prayer.
her from hurting somebody else. We never prayed for that. We were in fear something was going to happen to her. So I understand when you
See,
make
that was
that
my
statement,
biggest fear. That was my biggest fear was, am I going to get that phone call that somebody has killed my son in the
right? Or
street?
that police car coming up to your house. I would
Yes.
have visions
And
of that, dreams about that. Police car, and I know how them Crown Vic sound. Coming up to the house and that door slam, I know that door slam. And you coming to the door to tell me something happened to my child. So
yeah,
I relate with you, and I know y'all um that it sounds for you that it sounds hard, and I'm not saying that you wish that for your child, but that bipolar, especially well, on the depressive side too, because on the depressive side they're always trying to kill themselves, but on the mania side you end up with mania your
oh,
doggone
the
self.
mania side is worse than the depression side. The mania side is you better know what you're doing when you're dealing with them when they mania. Because if you don't know what you're doing with them when they're mania, like I said, mania could last from one day to a week to
Yeah,
several weeks
yeah,
to 2 months. You just never know with mania. And if they're off their meds, they're gonna be mania that longer.
yeah,
And you never know what you're gonna get when you're dealing with them with the mania. I had talked to my son. I think my relationship with my baby now is much stronger, because he knows that I'm fighting for him right now,
yes.
and like I told him, it's not that I don't love you because I love you beyond me,
Mm,
but God loves you more, and He knows why He set you down,
yes.
and I had to understand that, and I still don't understand it, so I'm not gonna lie and say, oh yeah, I understand. No, 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 no. I don't understand why mental illness entered my life through what happened with my son's, with AJ first, with the guy killing him, and then only to come full circle again with Matthew.
Right.
As a mother, I questioned myself. Like, what did I do wrong? What kind of karma do I have coming back to me?
Mm,
And people don't understand because they see me walk around here. Oh, she can deal with it. She's strong. I'm not that strong. You don't know what I go through at night. You don't know the tears I cry. I cry every night. I I go through just as much hurt as the next person.
Yep.
I just don't show it, and I don't wear it on my sleeve. But when you have your child murdered, and then you're dealing with another child that goes away for murder, as a parent, what do you do? Where do you go?
Right.
Where do you go? In your mind, you're wanting to wake up from this nightmare, and you
Yeah.
say, I can do this. I can get up. I can put my feet on the ground, and I can pretend like it doesn't exist. But unfortunately, it does. And unfortunately, this is my reality.
Yeah.
There are times that I feel so alone, and I have to deal with my mental side because I am at the point where I have those mental breakdowns, and then I just recently had to start seeing a psychiatrist
Right.
because it's so
So
overwhelming and we forget about us. We're so busy trying to be strong and we forget about us.
so I was
I
gonna
have
ask you,
no
what
shame.
do you do? What do you do for you? This is I told y'all, I told you guys, and I wasn't gonna put no makeup on Ewanna. I told y'all get your tissues. I told y'all. I knew it was gonna come at some point. I knew it. Um, but what does Ewanna? Don't be laughing at me, girl. That makeup about to be gone. That's okay. I don't care. It is what it is. Hey, healing is in the conversation, and that's why you here to heal and to help other people heal too. So, what does Ewanna do for healing? How does Ewanna deal with um, the loss of her two boys? How does Ewanna manage? What does she do for mental wellness?
I had to start relying and trusting and believing that God makes no mistakes. But even that wasn't good enough for me because here lately, I've just, I felt I've been having a mental breakdown. Like my mind and my heart is breaking. Every other day, I find myself, every other day, I find that I don't have an outlet. So my outlet now is I listen to music. I started journaling. That's my outlet. And then I had to go talk to a psychiatrist.
Yeah.
Because at first I was like, man, I don't feel like them telling me, I was seeing a counselor at first, but the counselor, I had to tell her, I was like, just as fucking retarded as I am. You can't even tell me nothing.
Right.
So I stopped seeing her. I had to. I had to stop talking to that lady. And I got on my knees one night. This was, when my girls was like, Mom, you need to talk to somebody. It's starting to be real scary. And when your children tell you that, because they're seeing that,
Right.
you know, and I said, you know what? I do. I do. I need to go talk to somebody. I have to start loving me again because somewhere along the way, I lost me. Somewhere along the way, I forgot about Ewanna and was so asphyxiated on my children, my boys. I have one that's gone, but I can try to help the other one. I can try to help him where when he comes home, that he'll be in a better place and he'll know how to deal with things, take his medicine, know when he feels himself getting manic. But how can I help them if I don't help myself? I
Absolutely.
can't do anybody any good if I don't start seeing about me. So I just started taking those steps, and I had called my sis Nell, and I told Nell what I was going through, and she was like, "What?" But I had to tell somebody,
Right.
other than my family. A lot of people see me, and you can't tell them anything's wrong with me because I'm not that person. I'm very private. But how private can I continue to be? And it's killing me.
Yeah.
Each day, each day is a struggle. I get up and put my feet on the ground, and the first thing I thank
Ewan, I can't hear you, man. I can't hear you. Mm-mm.
Can you hear me now? Okay.
Each
I'm
day
at the
is a
point
struggle.
now
Mm-hmm.
where the feelings that I'm starting to have are getting stronger and stronger, and I need help
Yeah.
because I don't want to get to the point where depression ends up being the end of my demise.
Correct. Correct. And so that's one thing we do. We offer resources on the show. I always say this disclaimer. I haven't said it the past couple weeks. But when we're doing the show, our intent definitely is not to create harm or
Hold on, hold on,
anything.
hold on.
Okay.
Something is going on.
So while she's getting her camera back together, I told you guys this one was she was gonna be deep. We always offer services. Our intent is never to create any harm to anyone. We know that the topic is heavy. We know the topic is serious, and we know that it can bring on emotions and
What
feelings
in
that
the
people
world?
weren't expecting. I can hear you.
Uh,
I can hear you. Uh-oh. She popped off. Let's see. We'll give her some time. I know I usually do this show for 1 hour, but I may extend it just a little bit more because she might need it. Um, because like I said, healing is in the conversation, and I'm gonna let her do that as long as is whatever she needs. So we do offer services to people. So if anyone is watching, you're in need of services, definitely let me know, so I can refer who I use. I use, shoot, I could put it out there. I could do the commercial. I use Open Path, and I went on there, signed up. It was referred to me by my homeboy Dre. I call him Shorty Pimpin'. He referred them to me, and it's been great. I found a great therapist on there, and I love it. So I can also give you those resources as well. Are you back?
Yeah, I'm back.
Okay. Oh, girl, I can hear you real good.
Um, I what I was saying is, especially dealing with this much when a mother deals with this much pain, this much loss, um, you start to question yourself. What did you do wrong? What could you have done? What could you have said? Could you have could you have tried to at least get ahead of the situation? I did everything that I could beyond begging them to help my child. I couldn't get no help. South Fulton, the only thing, the high schools, they just kept kicking him out. Nobody wanted to help him. Kept wanting to send him to the hospitals, and the system failed. They failed to help
Absolutely.
him. They
Absolutely.
failed to recognize mental illness. They failed to recognize what he was going through at that time. They failed him. They said that's the only thing that I can simply say is they failed my son. And me, myself, I am trying with everything within me to try to do better, to be better.
Right.
Um, I take it one day at a time, and believe me, I have more bad days than good days because this is my new normal.
Yeah.
And the pain that I have, they say that, oh, it'll get better. It doesn't. It doesn't. I cry myself to sleep every night. I cry for both my sons, both of them. I cry for Matthew. I cry for AJ. I really cry for him because he's never coming back. And I had to start accepting that. I find myself wanting to pick up the phone to call AJ because we used to talk every day. And I have to remember he's no longer here.
Yeah.
And with that, it breaks me down a little bit more each day.
Mm-hmm.
And I tell people, I don't look at me and say, "Oh, you can deal with it." You know, mm-mm. I've been through a lot in my life, and I try to right my wrongs. But this is something that I was never prepared for.
Right.
I
Yeah.
was never prepared to bury my child. I was never prepared for my son to go to prison. I didn't raise my kids like that. My kids didn't grow up in the ghetto. My kids grew up in the suburbs. I moved them to Atlanta for a better life. My oldest son, unfortunately, chose to go back to California. So this is, like I said, this is my new normal.
Yeah. And so we're gonna help you through this too. We've talked a little bit before about services for you and things like
Mm-hmm.
that, and trying to I mean, you're starting on the right path, but you just need a little bit more help to help you to guide you through your journaling and listening to music and you know spiritual to help your spirit. I have the perfect person for you, and I'm gonna give you her information.
Okay.
um so we got about a few minutes left, and so I know that this subject is heavy and it's hard to talk about. I know it was hard for people to hear and listen to, but I always try to end on a lighter note. So I got a question. You ready?
Yes.
All right. If you had 10 times your salary, all the money, like I told my guest last week, if that billionaire up in Chicago was to shoot you 1 million, you have plenty of money, no worries in the world. What would you do with your money?
I probably would help others that didn't have anything. Yeah, I don't like seeing people struggle.
Right.
I
Right.
don't. I'm not one of those people. Money just doesn't make me.
Hmm.
I can care less because I have a comfortable life.
Yeah. That's a
So
good
I would help
feeling.
others. I would use that to help others.
That's a good feeling to have a comfortable life.
Yeah.
Okay, so what song comes on the radio that is your favorite song? What is your favorite jam?
Um. Never would have made it.
Never would have made
Yes.
it.
Yes. Yes. I love that song. I
Y'all
would
know
have
I
lost
can't
it
sing.
all.
I be trying, but I can't
I
sing
would have
otherwise.
lost it all.
Yes, I would have lost it all.
Yes.
Yes, yes. And what is your favorite movie?
My favorite movie.
Hmm.
Um, Designated Survivor.
Okay, okay. And is there any question that I didn't ask you that you wish I would have asked?
No.
No? Okay. And what advice would you give our listeners that are dealing with a child with mental health and mental illness? What advice would you give them?
Pay attention. Pay attention because it starts when they're young, and you'll start seeing the telltale signs. Like I said about that hamster,
Girl,
though that
I
was
probably
my
would have
telltale
freaked
sign.
out if I'd have seen that.
You, when I
Look, we
when
can,
I
we
walked
can
in that
laugh a
bath,
little bit about some of it now, but I would have, boy.
when I walked in that bathroom and saw that hamster shoot up in that, it was like something out of a cartoon. And he always be like, "Mom, why you be telling people about that? Cause it's true." So yeah, just pay attention. Let get help. I mean, they will not help you if they're little, and I'm telling you that. You don't get the help when they're little because they have to wait till they hit adolescence because you don't know if they're going to grow out of it or not is what they're saying, because
Right,
some people do grow out of it, but my son wasn't one of those,
right, right.
and I knew he wasn't going to grow out of it. It just got with each episode of something, it became a little bit more difficult to control.
Yeah. Yeah, it's unfortunate for the itty bitty ones because they don't really know, is it just like a little bit of behavior going on, or is it really something serious like
Yeah,
mental health
yeah,
going on? Yeah. Yeah, and
yeah.
that's unfortunate. And maybe that's something we need to look into when we're looking at changing legislation, that
Mm-hmm.
maybe because they do have things called play therapy and things like that kids can go through, and maybe there are programs available for kids. I'm not too sure, for little ones where they can start dealing with mental health things when they're small. So that way when they grow older, they're already accustomed to dealing with it.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
not a shock. It's not a shame. You're not ashamed or anything. You're already accustomed to dealing with talking to somebody and talking about emotions and things like that. That's one of the facilities that I said I wanted to open with Mission for Mental Health. So yeah, you're right. Watch the signs. Watch them young. Especially now when they're being exposed to social media and stuff like that. You got to
And
look
don't
at them
tell
warm.
your child, "Oh, you're crazy. You done lost your mind. You acting like you don't abuse them like that. You when if you start seeing stuff, start writing it down, and then say, so that you can go back and have something to refer to. Like
Mhm.
on this date, he did this. On this date, he did that.
Absolutely.
Because once you start seeing that pattern and you have that pattern to refer back to, they'll be able to catch it. They'll be able to catch it early.
Yes. 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 And give our teachers, one of my favorite teachers just left a comment, my niece Maisha. Give our teachers some resources to help them with these kids so they're not in a position all the time. I'm gonna share this with you right quick before we go. My niece gave me a resource when my son Tyson was small. My son Tyson was bad. He was one of the ones that grew out of the badness. But she gave me a resource and she told me, stop letting these people kick him out and suspending him, and get him a Maisha, what was it called again? The I what's it called? IEP.
IEP, IEP.
Get him an IEP to where they have to deal with them, but give these teachers also some more resources to help them deal with these kids
Yeah,
so they're not being disruptive and they can teach the other students. But
yeah.
he's the one who did. So that is something y'all need to look at also. Get your child an IEP so they're not just getting kicked out of school because they don't want to deal with them. So
Right, right.
definitely look into that. All right. Well, Miss Ewanna, man, I thank you more than anything for coming on and sharing with us. Um, I knew, y'all know she was supposed to be on a long time ago, but she had a she had not a little, but she had an emergency with her other child and couldn't make it. I knew when she came on, y'all were going to love her. You were going to love her story. I mean, it is, I know Somebody, if it's not them, know somebody who's going through what you're going through. You're not by yourself. This is not a situation that you are in alone. There are many mothers and fathers out here going through pain, heartache, grief of losing their child to mental health and mental illness, and losing their child to the system
Yeah.
because of mental health and mental illness. You are not alone. I promise you, and I guarantee somebody got something from your testimony today. Somebody did. I know I did. I know I got it when you called me that night. I knew then that I was about to get something from this. I knew then. So, Ewanna, I thank you so much for coming on here, being
You are.
so open, being so transparent, and sharing. And I tell your husband, I thank him too, because whoever knows you knows him. And now y'all's story is shared with the world. Other people can see, because I want you all out here to subscribe, like, and share. If you want to be a guest on the show, email me at missionformentalhealth@gmail. You can hit me up on Instagram. You can hit me up on Facebook. You can hit me up on whatever. Make sure you follow me on Instagram at Mission for Mental Health. I try to post stuff daily, motivational messages and things like that. But also, once again, remember the most important thing. What did I put down here? There we go. I found it. Y'all know I got my glasses on. But most importantly, please, 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 those of you that are watching on Facebook, can you please log into YouTube and subscribe to the channel, like the channel, and share the channel? I need my subscribers to go up. We want this thing to grow. We want this message of healing to come out. Healing is in the conversation. I hope that you all got a little bit of healing during this conversation. Also, don't forget to sign the petition for India's law. I really, 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 really do appreciate that. If you guys can do that for me, let me add her back on. There you go.
All
Um,
right. Thank you so much for having me on.
you are so welcome. Hey, you guys, we will see you all next week. Next week will
Thank you
be
very much for having me on.
absolutely, absolutely. Thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate you. I appreciate you. Stay on for me for a second. Don't leave, okay? Stay logged on. I'm just taking you off screen, but stay logged on. Um, Look, you guys, next week is going to be my last episode of the season. I appreciate you guys for hanging in there with me. Next week, guess who the special guest is? The special guest is moi. Um, but once again, we'll pick it up in a couple weeks for season 2. And so I appreciate you guys for watching. Have a good evening. Love y'all. Talk to y'all later. Bye bye.